G'day folks, I'm Groomes. This is Land and Bay Fishing. This video is about squid. I've got a lot of footage on squid over the years. What I'm going to try and do is take some of that footage, put the better footage in a series of videos through this one, and explain what I'm doing as I go. So we'll try and cover where I go fishing, when I go fishing, and how I catch the squid. Basically the gear I use, the jigs, the type of jigs that I use, whether they're expensive or cheap, how to modify a jig. So they're the things we're going to cover in this video. Hopefully you'll get something out of it. Don't forget, if you do, make sure you hit the like button for me. If you haven't already, subscribe. And let's get on with the video. And we're on. Feels like a good squid too. It's just come to the surface there, if you can see it. Get this up on the sand and get the jig straight back out. That's a lovely tiger there we've just caught down here at Scott's Point actually. Fishing just near a little bit of structure that's just submerged. And I put on a jig that actually got to the bottom. I had a lightly weighted jig on, it was taking too long. So I went to a slightly bigger jig. That's the result. We're on just a little tiger. It's only just pinned too, but on the rocks this definitely does help. And the rod's important. Make sure it doesn't have to be a squid rod. You don't have to go out specifically and buy a squid rod. Just make sure it's heavy enough to take the heavier jigs. So a reel with a really good drag, a heavy enough rod. The drag, make sure you set it before you start. It really needs to be a light drag. Another nice little tiger this morning. It's only a small one, this one, a couple 100 grams. Beautiful colours, had him only in the one prong. Caught here at Redcliffe. Daytime squidding, you can catch them daytime, don't have to catch them at night time. Definitely easier at night time, you can see them floating on the top of the water. Daytime it's all about speck casting, much like flathead fishing. And we're on. Nice little tiger. Feels alright too. Going hard. There he is. It's calamari. Calamari rings. You had calamari in the shops before? Exactly the same. You skin it, chop it up.
How does it turn into rings?
This part here, so you dispatch it. So to dispatch it, to kill it quick, is just karate chopping the head, and it all goes white. That's dead now, right? So that's finished. He's no longer alive. Yep. Then once you've done that, you take the head out. There's a membrane here. You take the membrane out, you skin it, and that hood there, you chop up. Oh, so and that goes all the way around. So like that's your rings. Your rings. Yeah. Your rings up that way. We'll start here with the squid. You can see I've just pulled the head out. That was nice and easy. Now what I'm doing here is taking the skin off it. So you start by squeezing both sides of the flap and creating a hole, then dragging your thumbs and fingers around through the hole. Between the skin and the tube, you work your way around and eventually you'll get probably 90 to 100% of the skin off all in one hit. You can see there. That's the skin pretty much all the way around. There's a little bit left on. Just take that off and we'll give it a wash. That there is the little membrane that runs down the back, little ribbon, closest thing you get to a bone in a cephalopod. So we remove that. Now that it's out, give it a quick wash. Just take any bits and pieces that might be left on it. This one's pretty good. Push your finger in from the top of the squid tube, create a hole, and then you turn it inside out by just continually pushing it through. Work your way through there. A little bit easier if you do have a glove on. It can be slippery, but it's not too bad, especially with the bigger squid. A little bit of cleaning to do once you've turned it inside out. Not a whole lot on this side. Once you've done that, give it a wash and it's ready for slicing. So many different ways to cut this up. I'm just going to cut rings out today. So just cut the end off to make it nice and square. And cut the rings to suit your pellet. You can see there that one 500, 600 gram squid. Oh, that's the ink sacs. Ink sacs, if you're careful when you take the head off, the ink sacs will come out. If you're a chef, you can use them. If you're anything like me, you just throw them away.
Now we're done.
Shallow everywhere here.
Hey?
Shallow everywhere here.
Like the weed's so long.
Oh, I'm on. Just throw straight in front of the boat. It's right at the top of the water now. See where I am?
Yeah.
So throw behind me. Another nice little tiger, and he just got him too.
Yep.
He just got him.
Yeah, I just had a touch too.
Now that's the jig I'm using at the moment, just a burnt orange. Eaglicious. Squid's only about 200 grams. Point him away from your boat when you do catch one. Come on. Oh, it's a good one too, right in front of the boat. So, see where it is? Cast the other side of that. See where it is?
Yep.
So always take your time with these things or they'll come off. See how it's on the top now?
Yeah.
So it's exhausted. It'll come in there, leave a good amount of line so you can lift it right up. Grab the net. Hopefully it doesn't squirt me. This is a good one. This one's 300 or 400 grams. That's the sort of size that I like to take home for dinner. Okay, some of the jigs I mostly use the very cheap jigs. Around that $1 to $8 mark. Then probably 80% of my fishing are done with those jigs. All of the other lures that I have are pretty much less than $8. So you don't need to spend a lot of money on squid jigs to catch a feeder squid. One of the most important things about your squid jig is to modify it to the environment that you're fishing in. To reduce the weight on the squid jig, what that does, instead of a standard squid jig sinking at about 3 seconds a meter or even less, your squid jig will sink between 6 and 9 seconds a meter. I found once you go past that 6 to 9 seconds a meter, so you still need a steady sink rate, it almost gets to the point where you go from this to floating. So around that 6 to 9 seconds and you'll be spot on the money if you want to fish shallow water for squid. So we've got a bucket of water of about 30 centimeters and we put that in and you can see it gets to the bottom in probably about 1.5 seconds. Do it again. So I'd say probably a second to get through 30 centimeters of water. Start off with your side cutters. I like to crimp the actual weight if you can, so that the pressure isn't so much on the glue that holds the weight into the jig. So if you're holding the jig and you're doing things to the weight, the glue's under stress. If you hold it here and not holding on the jig, well then you don't have that stress on the glue. So if you can, pair of vice grips and hold the weight like that. So let's shave the back off first. Shave the top off. I've done a few of these, so I know I can take at least this much off. That's what it looks like. So what we'll do now, I'll put this in the water and test to see how quickly it sinks. Okay, you can see that's a lot slower. That probably took 1.5 seconds. The first, with all the weight, took approximately 1 second, but you can definitely see a difference between what it was and what it is currently. This is from it floating on the bottom. So that's how much we've lost so far. You can see it there, sitting there. Let's cut off a little bit more. So cut off a bit from the front and a bit more from the back. Now just remember, you don't do this on all your jigs. You do want jigs that sink at 3 seconds a metre. The moment you go over about 2 metres of water, you want that jig to get down close to the bottom and you want it to cover that whole column. And if you're doing this, it's taking way too long. So you will need some jigs that aren't modified like this. This is just for shallow water. And there you go, nice and slow. Still got all the way to the bottom. Took probably a good 2 to 3 seconds to get there. Really gentle through the column. That's exactly what we're looking for. You can see it is a little bit rough. We need to put the vice grips on there and just give that a little touch up with a nice smooth file. Just hold the back of it. Take the rough edges off it. That's our finished product. Let's have a look at it, see how it swims. So you can see it just creeps to the bottom. How good's that? And, oh, you're on, and that's a good one too. We may actually have a kilo squid coming to the boat. It's come to the surface yet?
Yep, it's on the surface.
This will go 400 grams, this one. Nice squid. Oh, very nice squid. Squid of the day. Actually, that's probably closer to 450, 500, that one.
That's a good squid.
That is a good squid, really is. I'm going to call that probably 500.
On.
You're on. Go, you good thing. It's a good one too, it's running.
Oh, yeah, there he is.
Yeah. The net's just behind you there.
If I stop reeling, I'll lose it, but won't I?
Oh.
Oh, he's fully taking it too.
Yep. So, grab the net and do your thing. Oh, he's only just on actually. You may lose him.
No, he's got that.
There you go. See, you did. Dropped off.
Yeah, he dropped it.
In the net. So this first map is a comprehensive look at the Redcliffe Peninsula from Scarborough all the way around to Clontarf. The harbour there at Scarborough, you've got 2 boat ramps. Both boat ramps are a very good area to go squid fishing land-based. You've also got plenty of rock groins and walls to do some walking. You just follow those rock walls around. The green marked area through there is a secondary spot. I do squid fish in these areas, but they don't produce as well as the primary spots, which are marked in red. Moving around to the northeastern side of Scarborough, you can see there you've got a track in red and a track in green. There's a little car park area just to the southern side of where that red track is. That's where I like to park. I start in that red line and I follow that green line around as far as the tide will let me on any given day. As I said earlier, the red line is your primary position. It's where you'll catch most of the squid. If you're not catching anything at all in the red areas, it's unlikely you'll catch in the green areas, so I'd move to a different location. Moving a little bit further south from Scarborough, you get to Redcliffe. This is the Redcliffe jetty. You'll see that it's a complete red line there. You will catch squid all the way through that red area, And I can tell you now, very, very rarely you'll see me on the jetty, although the jetty is a good place for squid. But there's so many fishers go out there and chase squid that it's just too much for me through the wintertime. I'd much prefer to stay on shore and fish the rock areas and the reefy areas, the weedy areas, either side of the jetty there. Now, Scott's Point is another area that I fish on occasion. It's an area that I fish more for snapper in the wintertime and big brim, but it's very rare that I go there and I'm chasing those big snapper that you don't see a squid hanging around the rocks. So there are definitely squid there, and it's a good place to give it a shot. So just around the corner from Scott's is Woody Point Jetty. Woody Point Jetty is a really popular place for fishers to go through the winter time. You will definitely get your feed of squid there. I do like either side of the jetty, so on the rising tide through to high, and then first couple of hours of the run out, you've got good water in close, and I walk both sides of that jetty. From the western side of that jetty, you can walk all the way down to Clontarf if you want to, and you will catch squid the whole way. So moving west from Woody Point, we get to Clontarf. Clontarf, just like Woody Point, is a very good area. It's a really shallow reefy area around there. At low tide you will see lots of exposed rocks. Well, the squid love those rocks. The top half of the tide, fish on top of the rock and both sides of the rock, and you'll find your squid. Okay, that takes us off the peninsula, and our first stop is Shorncliffe. Now Shorncliffe, like I said, right from Brighton all the way through to Cabbage Tree Creek, you can catch squid. I've marked this particular area because it's an area when I do fish over there, this is where I fish. Both sides of the jetty, you will catch squid off the jetty, but particularly around on the Baxter's side, just to the eastern side of Baxter's jetty, there's a little path, and that path takes you through to some really good ground there for big brim, and in the wintertime, some big squid. Well, from Shorncliffe, that takes us to our last spot that we're going to talk about today, is Manly, which is on the southern side of the Gateway Bridge. You follow the navman to the Esplanade at Manly, and Norfolk Point is the parking area where I like, and you'll see there it's all red, and that's because that whole area works very, very well for squid. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, Manly, that's about 10% of the areas you can fish in that area. From Manly to Cleveland, there are heaps more spots. It's not a spot that I go very often because there's so much good squid fishing around Redcliffe, but that spot there you will definitely catch your squid right through the cooler months, particularly on the westerly breeze. Oh, there's my tiger. Just had my first tiger squid follow. So I shall spot lock here, throw a jig on quickly. Very confident I'll get a tiger squid in the next couple of casts. Let's see how I go. There was quite a big tiger squid that came to the boat too, so I'll get the net ready. Alright, let's see how we go with these tigers. That squid's followed me all the way out, soft plastic from the rocks, and I saw it just at the boat here, and I'd say it's gone back and it's sitting in the rock somewhere with a few mates, so it's just a matter of finding where it is. So I've just lightened my drag up a bit. There it is. I knew he wouldn't be far away. Ink everywhere in the water. He's just coming to the top now. I'll keep the pressure on. He's only a small one, but nonetheless, he's a tiger. Very nice. Not that small either, big, 400 grams. Let him mink out. So there's our tiger. I don't know if he was the one that followed me to the boat or not, but it came from a very similar spot to the one that followed the boat. And the reason I went for the lighter colour was I had an electric chicken and soft plastic on. That was what he followed. Let's get out of the boat here, and the ink's going everywhere. Yeah, I'll get rid of the jig out of this one, and he can be dinner tonight. Now to dispatch these, you can either shove something up in here and that'll kill them, or you give them a karate chop, that kills them too. I'll show you the karate chop. And he goes white. That's him dispatched and ready for the esky. Absolutely beautiful part of the world, that's for sure.